What's going on, everyone? John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo here. When it comes to released Android handsets, there are two that are vying for top spot. We've got the HTC built Nexus One, which can be used on AT&T or T-Mobile's 3G network, and we have the HTC built Droid Incredible running on Verizon's network. These two are very close kissing cousins, if you will, that share a lot of the same internals, but there are some differences that I want to go over with you. So let's talk about some of the similarities first. They both have 3.7-inch capacitive screens with the same resolution. They're both OLED with 480 by 800 pixel density and 65,000 colors thereabout, which is 16-bit for those of you guys keeping track at home. The Nexus One here is running on GSM networks. The Droid Incredible is on CDMA. I know a lot of you were waiting for a Nexus One on Verizon. However, Google said today that will not be coming. So if you're looking for an Android experience on Verizon, the best is the Incredible that we have in front of us here. Battery life, they're a little bit different. The Droid Incredible is going to get you about 5.2 hours of talk time and about 144 hours of standby time. The Nexus One, however, is going to get you 7 hours of talk time and about 250 hours. That goes to show you a little bit about how the user interfaces consume battery life. And we'll get to user interfaces in just a minute. Both running the newest version of Android 2.1. The Nexus One has a 5 megapixel camera on the back with a single LED flash. The Droid Incredible has on the back, go ahead and push that back up, has a 8 megapixel sensor with dual LED flash. So a little bit higher in the camera resolution department and double the flash. Alright, so we've talked about specs. They're both running the same 1 GHz Snapdragon processor. Very, very similar spec, however, a little different experiences. So they both have capacitive buttons across the bottom, the same 4-button array. I've got an early model Nexus One. This came out, I believe the day it was released, we had this unit in. So I've had some problems with these capacitive buttons at the bottom. They haven't been so responsive. You tap them, oftentimes they don't work. However, newer reports of devices that have shipped in the weeks and months since release claim that has been fixed, but some of you guys maybe have that problem or be plagued with that issue if you have a newer model Nexus One or you bought it off Craigslist, for example, or eBay. The capacitive buttons here on the Incredible are very responsive and work just as well as physical tactile buttons. The other big difference here you're going to notice is the trackball is how you do your navigation. To move around, you can get some physical tactile feel there, and you can push it into select. We've got sort of a more high-tech optical trackpad here on the Incredible, which also serves exactly the same function. You can push it into select. So for all the games that need a trackball or trackpad, you can use either one of these, and they'll probably work just as well. It's really 6 or half dozen. They both do the same thing. It can depend on which one you prefer. Personally, I like the optical trackpad. I like the sort of minimalistic look. I don't have anything protruding from the phone, but that's just a personal preference. All right, so let's talk about the user interface and user experience. That's where the big differences are here. This is an unskinned, in its natural habitat, Android 2.1 as the Google programmers, engineers designed it to be, which is definitely not a bad thing. Android 2.1 offers a lot of really cool features. You can see those little swirling lines in the background. It's part of the live wallpapers that the operating system offers, sure to get some interactive and immersive desktop experience. So with the Nexus One stock Android 2.1, you get 5 home screens. So you can scroll through, you can see there are 5 right here. Go back the other direction and access the rest of them. Now if you want to jump from one home screen to the other, you can certainly slide your finger across or use the trackball like I did right there, or you can hit those little dots at the bottom, which actually pulls up almost a deck of cards looking feature, if I can get it. There we go. And you can jump to whatever home screen you'd like. On the other hand, the Incredible takes advantage of HTC's custom-built Sense user interface, which not only adds 2 extra home screens for a total of 7, but handles the way you move between your windows a bit differently. It's got something called Leap. So I go ahead and pinch in, I access the Leap features. I only have 3 windows here actually have anything on them, but the rest of them are down here. I can tap and go to any of them that I choose. So I've got a blank one right here. If I tap the home button, it'll take me back home. If I long press it, it'll go back to Leap as well. So again, personal preference, how you like to navigate. I like the Leap function. I think it's very intuitive to just swipe your fingers across it and jump to the home screens. When you look at the menu trays, here's where another indifference comes in. You get sort of a 3D menu tray. You can see them folding into the background. The Snapdragon chip in here can handle a decent amount of 3D processing. Same thing with the Nexus One. You've got 3D processing in here as well. Although you get just sort of a static array, the same chip can handle quite a bit. but a little bit more eye candy, at least as far as this is concerned, on the Nexus 1. And this is probably one of the 2 places where you actually see a little bit more of that eye candy. So we'll go ahead and exit out of this. Let's go back and talk a little bit more about the user interface. So the big deal about Android, one of the reasons I think it's been so successful, is because it's based on widgets. It means you can have a lot of little programs running on the home screen. So here I've got a widget that controls all of my power options. If I hold down the home screen here, I get a ton more widgets. And these are all sort of the standard Android widgets and some that I've downloaded extra. I'm sure you've seen these many times. I've gone through them on countless videos. However, with the Droid Incredible, you get these widgets plus a ton of extra HTC ones. So let me show you what those look like. So here are all the standard widgets plus the HTC ones. You can see there are many, many more. A lot of these are just HTC, so right below them. So Stocks is HTC, Twitter's HTC, Weather's HTC. You get something called Friend Finder and Friend Feed, so it aggregates all of your social network clients. You can sort of pull everything in all at once. There are a lot more options for customization here, at least the device is out of the box. You can download extra widgets and additional functionality on the Nexus 1, and you can even port the ROM over to the Nexus 1. However, I want to give you a demonstration of what these devices look like when you just pull them out of the box. I got very excited right there. So one of the things that I really do like about the Incredible, and this is just me, is I like the big clock and the weather integrated right there. Now there are weather widgets that you can have and clock widgets for the Nexus 1, but I like how really nice and integrated this is. I can tap it, I can get a bit of a 3D animation about the weather. You can see it's a little bit cloudy and sunny. If it was raining here, raindrops would start to show. You can scroll through and see different areas. You can see there's some raindrops right there in New York, and go ahead and wipe some away. It just seems to be a bit more polished experience. I think that Sense takes everything good about Android 2.1, which is quite a bit, and adds a little bit more to it. One of the other places where I think that perhaps the stock Android build maybe adds some functionality is in pictures. Let me just go ahead and so I can find where the pictures are right here. Gallery. You get sort of a 3D look of pictures. You can see some video that I've taken there. You can jump right to the camera. We'll go back. But you get just probably a little bit more 3D immersive environment than you get otherwise. See, I'm trying to hit the button to go back and I'm having some difficulty. Sort of representative, I think, of the capacitive buttons here. So that's sort of some 3D rendering, kind of neat. Here, pictures aren't handled nearly as eloquently. Let's go ahead and find photos. And it's mostly just handled in a grid. However, you can sort of scroll through this bottom part to see all your photos from Flickr that you've integrated from Facebook, and then your album photos. There are a few other differences here. The keyboards are definitely different on both these devices. Let me show you what they look like. We'll go ahead and go into messaging, pull this off to the side. We'll create a new message. This is the stock Android keyboard that's going to come with any Android 2.1 device. When you rotate into landscape, you get the landscape version of that. We take a look here. You get actually an HTC keyboard, which is a little bit different. It's a bit smaller width-wise, but the keys are a bit longer. I found it actually a little bit easier to type on the HTC keyboard than I do on the default Android keyboard. I'll show you what they look like as well in landscape. Android's got a fantastic autocorrect, and HTC sort of built on top of that, added some more autocorrection features. So again, another just a little nice advantage to I think having the Sense UI. You also get a bit more sort of bundled in. Let me show you what you get with the device. A little more applications. So you get card panel, which is essentially your Google Maps navigation, and a few other features with sort of a nice user interface on top of it. If we go back and continue here, you get a City ID, essentially a phone book lookup, desk clock. It comes with FM radio, footprints, which is geotagging of your pictures. I don't know anybody that uses that. FriendStream is that contact aggregation for social networks that we were talking about. So it'll pull in all of your social networks. So you can see what your buddy Jim is doing on Twitter and Facebook. It's got a built-in Twitter client, PDF viewer. You've got Quick Office already in here, stocks application. You've got a teeter game, which is sort of like a labyrinth accelerometer thing. Voice dialer, voice search. Then there's the weather and sort of YouTube that you get on other Android devices. Let's take a look at the applications that come standard with the Nexus 1. We'll go home. Launch application tray. So you do get quite a bit here as well, but not nearly as much. And some of these are applications that you downloaded. And again, you can make up for the lack of included features on the Nexus 1 simply just by downloading them from the ever-growing Android market. However, when it comes down to it, if I have to pick one of these two devices, it's a no-brainer that I'm going to go with the Droid Incredible. It's quick, it's got HTC support and HTC usability, which just adds a lot of nice little features that you'll notice. So another one of those instances, go to messages, you can back out to the messages list. It's a nice way to scroll through and some extra little visual candy, but there's a reason that extra visual stuff does take battery life. So if battery life is important to you, the stock Nexus 1 may be a good way to go. However, if you have no problem getting through a day and a half before charging the device, I think the Incredible is a fantastic phone and a great choice. Call quality has been excellent on it. User experience is fantastic. They both have multi-touch capacitive browsers, almost exact same network and processor speed, and they both do just quite a bit. However, when it comes down to personal choice, I prefer the Incredible, and you can see right there, you get sort of the glowing trackball on the Nexus 1. So before I sign off, actually, there is one last feature that I want to show you with the web browsers. They're both running very similar browsers. We got Techno Buffalo queued up on here, and we'll let this side load up Google. Both multi-touch, pinch to zoom, and let's check out a website with Flash content. We'll go to flash.com, which is Adobe site. So we'll go to flash.com here, and we'll go to flash.com on the Incredible. Kind of type sideways is harder than it looks. So alright, we've got flash.com here. So on this one, we've got you must download the Adobe Flash Player, which Adobe says is going to be coming, but they have not released it yet. However, on the Nexus 1, we've got Flash already integrated into the browser. Now, that does not mean, unfortunately, you can play Hulu. Hulu won't work, but other Flash content like Flash games do actually load and look decent, a little bit choppy. You'll see right here in a minute. So there's Flash content loading over a pretty fast Wi-Fi network. I'll zoom in so you can see it. So for those of you that Flash is very important, you gotta have it, then the Incredible is really gonna be the best way to go because it has it right now. Nexus 1 and other Android devices will be getting it soon. You can see it's a bit choppy, but it's usable and watchable. Just something that I felt that I needed to share with you guys because that is one of the other fundamental differences between the two phones. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sort of curious to know which one you prefer or which one you're leaning towards. If you're a Verizon user, definitely look at the Incredible. If you're a GSM user, so if you're on AT&T or T-Mobile, you are not going to regret a Nexus 1 purchase. It is still a fantastic phone running a very robust and growing operating system. So guys, hope you enjoyed. I'm John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo, where you can go to get all your tech news, create your own tech sublog, even monetize it and make some bucks, and talk to each other in our built-in social network. For exclusive content, check me out at Twitter, twitter.com/John4Lakers. I am John Rettinger, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.